Is now Maryland Congressman Andy Harris, who is on the House Appropriations Committee and a member of the Electromagnetic Pulse Caucus, are a congressman since the San Jose power plant attack came to light, or at least more publicly 10 months later. Some of your colleagues, Senators Reid, Feinstein, and others, are now pushing for stronger security standards at power plants, saying the attack was a wake-up call, as if they didn't already know, based upon legislation that you've been involved in, the work that you've done, the GRID Act, the SIPA Act, the SHIELD Act, is if this is the first time they're hearing about it. Can you please explain to the American people why these politicians decide to come out when we hear about it and be against it, but won't pass this stuff in Washington?
Well, Judge, I don't know. We really have to get on this and get on it as soon as possible. We have the SHIELD Act before the House now. It's already been filed. We can easily amend that act to include terrorist attacks or physical attacks like this attack and protect our grid.
All right. And when you talk about the SHIELD Act, I mean, you're talking about it's H.R. Bill 2417?
Yeah, it's the act that would protect against magnetic pulse, but what the attack in California showed us is that there are other hazards as well, especially a physical attack, which could be a terrorist-style attack, which it appears to be. That's what happened in California.
Well, and comically, not even ironically, comically, the FBI and the local police are calling it vandalism, as if a bunch of kids decided to have a few beers, get a few AK-47s, and start sharpshooting after cutting some underground cables and getting into a structure to do that, a protected structure, and avoiding the cameras and avoiding the monitors. But let's get to the core issue. Is this about money, or is it about who would take credit to protect the American people?
I think it's about the money. I think it's everyone expecting someone else to pay for it. This is a national issue, and you know, it can be tried to be dealt with at the state level. But honestly, unless you protect the national grid, you're not going to really make headway. So we ought to do it on a national level. And what we ought to do is we ought to take money that's already coming into the Department of Energy. They have a $30 billion a year budget. 10% of that budget would permanently protect our grid. We ought to just do it and take the money we're already collecting.
And when you talk about energy, I mean, I could just reference $500 million that was literally thrown away on the green energy and the mess that Solyndra created for the American people. And finally, let me just ask one more question. If Americans want to get their congresspeople to support legislation, what do they need to do?
They need to call their congressman, call their senator today, tomorrow, right now, and say, look, we need protection. Our electrical grid needs protection. Please pass the SHIELD Act and include measures in it that would protect against California-style attacks. It's simple to be done. We should do it quickly and just move on. Take care of it and move on. Congressman,
the GRID Act passed the House and then went to the Senate. What happened to it in the Senate?
They couldn't agree on the cybersecurity part of the bill. That bill addressed both EMP, physical attack, and cybersecurity. So it died. They got hung up because they couldn't agree on it.
It died, right?
It died, and we're left without protection.
Congressman, do you find it frustrating that after the San Jose attack comes to light, we've got all of these senators, and remember, the Democrats, you know, are in charge in the Senate. They're now concerned about the dangers having to do with the grid when they wouldn't let this thing out of committee in the Senate. They wouldn't vote it out, and they wouldn't work with the other side of the aisle to get a bill that people could agree on.
It's very frustrating because we have the answers. This is not complicated, Judge. We know exactly how to protect these substations. We just got to do it. We just have to make up our mind and do it.
All right, Representative Andy Harris, thanks so much for being with us.